Jerome, this is a neat presentation with your painted color wheel. However, the colors aren't all fully saturated, and for pointers there, I want you to go and take a close look at my notes in the drafts review for this assignment. You'll find it in Announcements, Assignment 2. Now, with regard to the digital color wheel, your RGB values for the primary and secondary hues are right on, and those hues are fully saturated. However, the intermediate ones are not. I'm also asking myself, why are some of the intermediate colors differently shaped? What's the rationale for placement and arrangement there? Sharon, this is the lovely painted color wheel, and we've discussed it at length elsewhere, so I refer your peers to take a look at those notes in case they want to know all you went through to arrive at this lovely solution. Now, if your violets are less than fully saturated, maybe we can blame that on the brand or grade of paint that you used. Notice that student grade paints often include filler, meaning that they're a weaker paint and you cannot get a really nice saturated color from some of those. Now, with regard to your digital color wheel, things look a lot better here. However, I know that you're struggling with resolution issues, and so I urge you to bring your files to the Illustrator or Photoshop Tutor Center and post them in the troubleshooting discussions. You'll see more notes on this in the discussion there for you. And what a difference CMYK versus RGB makes, huh? Keely, this really is a very good color wheel with an excellent presentation. I'm wondering whether your violets and greens could have been more saturated, so check my notes there in the Assignment 2 drafts review. Also, with regard to interval, maybe the colors with yellow, yellow-green, yellow, and yellow-orange could show more gradual transitions. Start with a lighter color when mixing with yellow in particular. I'm also checking the interval there between blue and blue-green. Could there be less of an interval in that case? Now, with your digital color wheel, things look great. The RGB values are very good, and it's a lovely design. I'm wondering whether the interval might be adjusted with greens and maybe reds to better correlate with what the eye sees. Well, John, this presentation is quite neat. I'm thinking that you've got a bit of a global color shift with the way your scanner's seeing colors, and I'd suggest you take a look at a post that I made there at the top of the discussion talking about how you can use Photoshop to adjust that. Now, it appears to me that you have swapped your yellow and orange swatches, and I think your greens look great here. I'm wondering about the yellow, thinking that maybe it's not a fully saturated one, or it's one that's leaning a little in the direction of orange. There at blue, we can see that the interval could be lessened between blue-violet and blue and blue-green. And I'd like you to read up on what I have to say about violets there in the drafts review and announcements. Zach, this color wheel really looks quite good. Let's see. With regard to details, I'd say that blue-violet and blue-green are looking like tints, so lessen up on the white there. In fact, I'm at odds to know how you made this blue-green with the colors at hand. I'm thinking maybe you used another tube of color for that. I could be wrong, though. Let's see. For the red, I'd say mix both reds together, and there are some places where interval might be adjusted. For instance, are yellow and yellow-green too close? Are orange and orange-yellow too similar? Now, the digital wheel looks really good in terms of RGB values, and it's a great creative solution. The only little thing I might say is that this lesson included info on guides and snapping, grid, and so on. So you might try for a more controlled design. I like the way that you've emphasized the primaries and secondaries by superimposing a second image. And yes, I think this could be an album cover. Paulina, I know that this color wheel takes a lot of time to assemble, and I'll credit you with what appears to be a neat presentation. Now, let's see. I would like you to go and study those notes at the top of the draft review and announcements, the review for assignment 2. I'm recommending that people add a tiny touch of white to any color that is made with ultramarine. Also, I'm wondering about your yellow. It looks to me like it's leaning in the direction of orange, and the big problem here seems to be with yellow-green. However, I'm wondering how you made such a nice green with that yellow, if you made the green with yellow and blue, for example. So there are perhaps some places where the interval could be adjusted a touch. Do blue-green and green look too similar? How about red? Red, orange, and maybe yellow, orange, and yellow are quite a lot alike. Stephen, this really is quite a good painted color wheel. Little things include do blue-violet, blue-green, and yellow-green look like tints? Lessen the amount of white. I wouldn't even add any white to yellow-green, using yellow instead to lighten it. Maybe the presentation could be spiffed up a bit, and I know it's a lot of trouble with this to put all the chips on a new template printout, but to be the best presentation, that might be the thing to do. Now, with your digital color wheel, I feel like you're not following closely what we're doing here. The colors for a digital color wheel need to be different, so opposed to red will be cyan and not green. Also, the colors were to be fully saturated, so if we take a look at your yellow there, that's certainly a tint of yellow. It looks as though you were having fun with this project, however, you weren't focusing on the objectives, and also, all of the colors were meant to be fully saturated. And while you may have fully saturated colors in some instances, we were looking for a wheel with 24 steps, one where you could look across from one color and find its complement, for example. Rachel, this is some very nice work. If I'm not mistaken, both of these have been discussed elsewhere. One little thing I'd say about the painted color wheel is perhaps your violets could be more saturated looking. All the colors seem to be fully saturated now in the digital color wheel. I'm thinking that here's a case where you might like to experiment with the pen tool, for example. I asked myself, what is the relationship between the heart and the paw print? Hi, Travis. Go and take a look in the discussion. I've made some notes about the painted color wheel for you there. I need you to rescan this. With regard to your digital color wheel, well, this is a beautiful, creative idea. The colors aren't all fully saturated, and I'm looking for cyan to be emphasized as it's a primary or secondary color here. Also, let's consider the matter that with a color wheel, it's nice to be able to find a triad of colors, for instance, the primaries. And when you don't have a symmetrical design, that's a little more difficult. Adam, I'll credit you with a neat presentation with your painted color wheel here. I think the best area is, say, the orange to yellow group. Red violet, blue violet, blue green, and even yellow green all appear too light in some cases, as though they're tints. So take a look at the detailed notes I've made in the draft review for this painted color wheel assignment. You'll find that in announcements, the draft review for assignment 2. Now, with the digital color wheel, things look really good. You've got the right RGB values for the primaries and secondaries. They've been emphasized, and all of your intermediate colors are fully saturated. I'd say maybe with those intermediate colors, you could make their placement a little bit more random to show that that was intentional.